How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of JB360. We have here the Macfox X1, and we're going to be actually modifying this to go 72 volts. And I'm going to go over just a few of the parts that I'm going to be replacing. Well, not a few, actually some. So we have here our 20x4 tires. These are sort of like all-terrain tires that I found on Amazon. We also have the 3000 watt MB Power direct drive motor over here, meant for fat tire bikes. Also over here we have the 100 amp Saviton that we're going to be pairing with the bike, and some Tektro E2750 brakes. These are, I believe, 4 piston brakes, and I'm going to add those to the front and rear of the bike. And then we also have here a light kit with a step down, and this will allow us to connect basically any signal lights, rear lights, headlights to the bike while using a 12 volt system. Over here we have our moto style headlight with fairing. We're going to be adding this to the front, replacing the stock one that's on the Macfox right now. And we also have a rear brake lights with signal turn capabilities, and we also got some extra tire tubes. So yeah, just a little bit of background info on this bike. Retail price comes out to about $999. I call this a budget build, but in any sense, we're going to see what we can do with this stock frame, and we're going to get started actually by removing all the stock parts here. Brakes, we're keeping the handlebars for now, grips, any kind of light switches, taking all that out, removing the stock headlight here. And we're also going to be replacing the tires, as I showed you before, to sort of more heavy duty ones, and replacing the rear motor in the back. This one's a 500 watt nominal, and we're going to be replacing that with the 3000 watt over here. And also another thing too, this is actually an all steel frame, so it's a very, very sturdy chassis. You know, in terms of like high torque, it can handle it with this frame. So yeah, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this build. So yeah, let's get to it. So we have the Tektro brakes here. Oh, sorry. Got the Tektro brakes here. About to install it on the front and the rear wheels. Obviously, if you notice when they come in a set, obviously the short one goes to the front and the long one goes all the way to the back wheel. So we're going to install these textures here. Word of advice too, if you have your handlebar or your grip, just kind of like measure it out so you know exactly kind of where you want the brakes to go. Just so you don't have to take everything off again, because once those handlebars go on, it can be a little bit difficult to keep removing and putting them back on. So yeah, if you have a grip, like your handlebar grip, just kind of like line it up and just see where you want it, where you want the brake levers to go. One thing I forgot to mention about these brakes, they come with these little brake sensors here. Come with these little brake sensors here that actually plug into the regen port for the light kit that I have specifically for this build. And so it allows obviously you to use your brakes, which in turn you can use your brake lights, and you can also activate regen with the controller. So yeah, very, very useful. And this is what's called an SM plug. This is very specific to the type of port that you'll find in a lot of controllers that will have, like, say, like a low brake plug. But for this particular light kit, I have the actual SM plug that connects directly in here, so it's pretty much just plug and play when it comes to braking and using regen. So we take a look here again. I decided to use some spacers. I even used the bolt to kind of space it out because it was about like ½ an inch that I needed. So I just basically used that as a template, and then I added in some spacers over here as well. And yeah, pretty much use those pad separators to kind of like even this out a little bit. So we're gonna finish off the brake line installation by adding in some more zip ties to line it across the frame of the bike. Alright guys, so before I usually mount any controller or wiring, I like to make sure that my connections are working and that everything is connected in terms of functionality. So over here we have the far driver controller. This is the 72340. This peaks at about 340 phase amps, 120 DC line amps. So yeah, that's going to be the controller we're going to be going with. I know at the beginning of this video or of this tutorial I mentioned I was going to be using a Sabaton or a YYK controller, but I decided to go with the far driver. They're a bit more reliable than some of the other sine wave controllers, and they're one of the hottest on the market right now. So going to be putting this on the Macfox. And so we have the controller here. As you can see, we have our phase wire inserts, our terminals, blue, green, yellow. So the motor comes with 3 phase wires, and you would basically color coordinate and apply the phase wire, or screw the phase wire into the the respective color. And over here we have the positive and negative terminal, positive, negative. We're gonna be connecting a bunch of stuff here, mainly the DC converter / light kit will be connected here, as well as the main harness for the battery. So I'll show you guys how I do that, and kind of go over some of the connections that we have. So over here is the harness for the far driver. This one connects directly to this section over here with all the pins, and you can actually peel this rubber back to kind of insert the pins in. And obviously you want to make sure that you insert it in the right direction. So once you line everything up, everything will just kind of click in, and you'll hear like a little click, which means that your connection is complete. So just to kind of go over some things here with the controller, the adapter, the hall sensor adapter, which is this, the stock far driver controller comes with this one, this sort of large 6-pin connector, but this does not fit my current 3 kilowatt motor. It uses actually kind of like a smaller hall sensor, so I decided to splice a new connector in. This is the smaller hall sensor adapter, so that everything's compatible. I can just kind of disconnect, connect when I need to. So I decided to kind of like splice in the wiring for that over here. This one is the 3-speed switch. I do not have a 3-speed switch on this setup, so what I'm going to be doing is connecting this and this adapter together. So in any other case, if you were to have a 3-speed switch, it would connect directly into here. But since we're just going to be running mode 3, which is the fastest mode all the time, we don't need it. So we're going to loop the connection by connecting these together. And you'll notice these are usually always connected, or there's always like a loop around it. So yeah. Over here we have the throttle wire. This is the green, red, and black wire. This adapter I don't have on my current throttle, so what I'm going to be doing is disconnecting this and connecting some bullet connectors so that it connects directly into the throttle. So this is the throttle that I'm currently using. It's a ignition throttle, so it has the key ignition connected all in one, as well as the voltmeter. So it's kind of a good budget friendly setup for any kind of build. And you also even get a pretty affordable security system, because without the key you won't be able to operate the bike or obviously turn it on. So it's kind of good that it does have a key ignition. You want to always have that with your any kind of build. It just increases the security for your bike. All right, so as you can see here, this is the other end of the throttle. This will be connecting to the 3-pin throttle over here. Obviously color matching, red to red, green to green, black to black. Red being positive, black being negative / ground, and green being the signal wire. So this throttle also has these blue and yellow wire. So the yellow wire actually goes to the positive of the battery, so that it can give you your voltage reading, and this blue wire attaches to the ignition, which will activate the controller. This will connect directly to the ignition wire. So the ignition wire on the controller is actually the orange wire with this sort of 1 pin connected here. So your blue wire will connect to this ignition wire here. So before we continue connecting everything, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the wire harness from the controller, only because it's this wire harness is going to be connected to the light kit. So I don't want to be dragging around like this heavy controller with the wire harness connected and all these other wires connected. I'd rather just kind of connect this last, since it's pretty much the last step, last piece of the puzzle. And what we're gonna have to do is basically create a connection to the light kit so that when the ignition turns on, this will also activate the DC converter and all the lights pretty much for the bike. So we want to make sure that the connection works by testing out the ignition. But first, what we have to do is we have to splice in the connection wire for here. This ignition wire is going to have to splice into the ignition that's on the controller, but also connects to the light kit. So before I continue, let me just show you guys the light kit over here. There's actually a couple places that you can buy this thing. One of them being Amazon. If you type in the search terms MV Power Light Kit, this will show up. So besides Amazon, you can actually get this light kit also from E Street Bikes. Sal sells these, but I believe he has limited quantities. And over here you can see it comes with an ignition, which we're going to be removing because we're going to basically tap into this wire here, the positive and the negative, so that the switch is basically able to turn on the lights. The switch from the throttle, the key ignition here. So we're going to be removing this and splicing in some new wiring so that this activates the whole light kit. So over here, continuing with the light kit, this is the DC converter. Now over here you're going to see these two wires right here. These are actually the brake sensor wires, also known as like the regen wires. So if you guys remember from when I was showing you the Tektro brakes, it came with the brake sensors. Those wires actually connect to here, so one for pretty much each brake. So you would connect those here. So unfortunately, my light kit did not come with the standard headlight and signal buttons, so I had to buy a separate one and basically wired them into here. This is just for testing purposes. Obviously this is not my final wiring setup. I'm basically just testing the connection to see if the functions actually work. But as you can see here, there's a left, right signal, horn, as well as headlight activation. So this, these two wires over here are basically supply power. Well, kind of supply power to the light kit. This will go into the positive terminal of the controller. This one will go into the negative. And this connector right here, I did myself a favor and just kind of put a bullet connector here, but you'll see it's this like striped green and yellow wire. This one actually connects to the 12-volt brake wire from the controller, and this will basically connect both the light kit to the controller. Connection here is basically like a, they call it like a flasher, almost like it creates that like sound, like sort of when you're like signaling and stuff like that. That's what I believe it is, but I mean, this kind of just stays there. You don't really remove it or anything like that. So this connector here, you'll see it's a 2-wire connection. We have a black and we have a striped red and yellow. This actually connects to the horn. You'll see these 2 pins here. They just directly insert into the back of the horn module, and that allows you to activate your horn. These wires over here, these are the wires for the rear brake light. I'll provide sort of the combinations in like kind of like a Google Doc, just to kind of show you guys what goes where. But these are basically all the like signal, brake, like standby wires that connect to the rear light. And last but not least, the last connector. This will connect to the headlight over here. It's a 3-pin adapter. Most like motorcycle headlights come with like a 3-pin, so all you would really need to do is just connect it here. And you can use any motorcycle headlight that uses that 3-pin connection. But also definitely look out for the wiring diagram, because sometimes manufacturers, they switch up which wires mean what. Like One could mean like high beam, one could mean low beam. The other can activate as like daytime running light, stuff like that. So just make sure that whichever motorcycle headlight or regular e-bike headlight you use, try to get a wiring diagram because it will definitely help. So for now, we're not going to connect the front headlight or the horn. I just want to test it and make sure that there is actual power when the ignition is applied. So for now, we're going to just test connections out and make sure things work. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to establish our ignition connection to the light kit. Alright, now that we have the positive and negative ignition from the light kit going to the controller and the throttle, so now that we have that established, I'm going to use the 12 volt high break wire that's on the far driver, which should be the gray wire. So we found the gray wire here. Go ahead and snip that off. Alright, so now that we have our connections established, we're going to go ahead and connect the positive and negative line from the light kit going to the controller, positive and negative terminals. We're also going to be connecting this battery harness. So this QS8 connector will connect to the battery, and obviously these terminals here, positive and negative, will go in their respective terminals on the controller. So I'm going to go ahead and put the connector, the battery connector, on first. So since we're going to be having multiple connections, let's make sure that anything that needs to go to the positive terminal goes to the positive terminal. So you can see here we have this yellow wire, which is going to be connected to the voltmeter from the throttle. That goes to the positive. Light kit positive terminal goes to positive, and battery terminal positive. And the very last thing we're going to be doing, well, the second to last thing we're going to be doing is connecting the battery. You obviously don't want to connect the battery while you're still connecting wires. There is a chance that these may touch and you will get a spark, and that will not be good, because last thing you want to do is melt your connectors, and you kind of have to redo some of the process. So this is why we test our connections first before mounting it on the bike, just to make sure everything is good. So these screws are already on the controller. All you would need to do is just insert them through the ring terminals here. Just take your screwdriver, any Phillips screwdriver, and screw it in tight. You want to make sure that these connectors are tight, especially the battery terminals, because if there's any type of separation or there's no contact between the metals, you will get what's known as arcing, and that can pretty much fry your terminals. So you want to make sure things are pretty tight and secure, especially on the battery side. And it goes for the negative as well. Negative terminals connected, got the battery negative and also the light kit negative connected. Alright, so let's test out power. I'm going to connect this to the battery. I'll show you guys the battery later, but we're going to connect the battery now just to make sure things work. Alright guys, as you can see here, I have the far driver temporarily mounted with these zip ties on the bottom here, which I actually may keep as support for the bottom of the controller. But as you can see here, we have the mounting holes up top here. Alright, and it's going to go within the frame over here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to preliminarily drill where I want the holes to be, and we'll thread in those screws that will go into the top part of the mount over here. So guys, when mounting the controller, or if anytime you're drilling into the frame, especially any type of metal, copper drill bits work best for penetrating the frame. So I do highly recommend it. And of course, when threading in mounting holes, you want to start small off first, and then kind of work your way up to the actual screw size that you need by switching to a bigger drill bit. So. Alright, so we got the far driver in, mounted it nicely. This thing is not going anywhere at all. So I'll mount the screws on the unit. So what we're gonna do now actually is go ahead and mount the battery onto this frame over here. Alright guys, so I figured I'd kind of narrate this portion a little bit. So after you mount your controller and you have sort of your harness, your controller harness, and your light kit connected, the best thing to do really is to start by connecting the controller harness to your actual controller unit. And what we're going to do here is also connect the Hall sensor, the 5-pin Hall sensor that connects from the controller, and plug it into the Hall sensor of the motor. Now, I know it's not the best angle, obviously, that I'm showing you right now, but in terms of describing sort of what's going on, that's basically what's happening at the moment. Also, in terms of the light kit, what I actually ended up doing was fitting pretty much a lot of the excess wire into the battery bag. It just seemed the most sort of organized for me, and I was able to kind of hide a lot of that sort of like internal wiring from the harness. So you could mount it however you guys want. You could put it under the seat, you could put it, you know, attached to the frame, but for me, I kind of just wanted to hide things by just putting it into the battery bag because I did have enough space to do so. But it's your choice, guys. You know, you could do, you know, what you want in terms of, you know, placement and stuff like that. So this is what I did. So for this portion of the setup, we're actually gonna connect the battery terminal, this harness that you see right here, to the actual battery. But before that, we gotta make sure that the positive and negative terminals are screwed into the positive and negative terminals on the controller. So also, before connecting your battery to the battery harness, you want to also make sure that the positive and negative terminals from the actual light kit are connected to the positive and negative terminals of the controller. Because if not, your light kit will not turn on, and you know, you do have a risk of the positive and negative metal points touching. So just make sure that you have all your positive and negatives connected to the controller before turning on or even connecting your battery. Alright, so now we can go ahead and start mounting the rear tail light to the back of the frame. I'll actually throw up the wire combo that you would basically attach from the tail light to the light kit that kind of displays the color coordination between all of them. Alright, so pretty much for the final step, what we're going to do is we're going to tap into the headlight wire, which is a brown, blue, and black wire. And this is going to be pretty simple. That's going to connect directly to the light kit wires. Now on the light kit side, it's actually the same color combination, which is brown, black, and blue. So all you would need to do, just match the colors up, black to black, brown to brown, and blue to blue. So that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. And after you connect those wires in, whether you splice it in or not, or use bullet connectors, you'll be able to have a working motorcycle headlight. Alright guys, so in terms of tuning with the far driver, I'm going to give you guys sort of like a real basic overview and kind of like go through some of the settings that I have on my end. Now, you don't have to go by my exact settings, but this is kind of what I set for my motor. And what I'll even do in this case is I'll actually upload some screenshots on like a Google Docs or a Google folder on Google Drive, just so you guys can kind of just see sort of the numbers and the values on each of the sections. So let's go ahead and I'll show you guys the app. So once you launch the far driver app, it'll bring you to this parameters page. But what we want to do is we want to hit COM on the bottom right, and we want to scan for our controller. Now mind you, you want to have your controller on, obviously. So let's make sure that our controller is on, obviously, before proceeding. So after you scan, your controller will show up over here on this Bluetooth sort of hub. So what you want to do is you want to click on your controller, and once you click on your controller, what you want to do is you want to bind your controller. Now where it says owner connected and bound, if you haven't bound your controller, you won't be able to save your settings. So once you have your controller binded, it'll show up as connected over here in green. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your bike sort of elevated where the rear wheel / motor is kind of free to spin. So either you have it on a kickstand or some type of like box or paint can or something like that, something that will elevate your wheel, because what we're going to do here is you're going to want to for the auto learning process, when you get to graph over here, when you hit graph, it'll take you to this auto learning process. You're going to want to basically throttle your bike pretty much all the way. And what it's going to do while it's in that auto learn process, you'll have the wheel kind of spin really fast forward and then backwards, and then basically it'll tell you that your auto learning process is complete. You'll see like an error, like it'll be sort of like I think like some kind of like throttle error or something like that. You can just ignore it, because once you have that green check in the middle, basically it verifies that you successfully did the auto learning process. So when you're on graph here, you're gonna go hit auto learn. I'm not gonna press it obviously because I already have my settings saved, and you're gonna go ahead and throttle that thing and keep it pinned down. Don't let it go until the wheel pretty much stops moving, and you'll hear sort of like a beeping indicator saying that it's done. Once you hear that beep, you can basically let go of the throttle, and it basically will autofill a lot of your settings. So once you're done with the auto learning process, you're going to go over to where it says Paris, which is short for parameters, and the layout is a little bit different from when I first using the Far Driver, so they've kind of made it a little bit sort of user friendly if you want to just go ahead and adjust settings. But if you see over here, there's like 3-speed parameters, and if you have a 3-speed switch, you can actually adjust the percentage of power for each mode to like 150 or even like 25 or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But we're gonna go ahead and hit where it says Open Pro NBLE. So now when you click that, it's gonna give you a list of parameters and settings that you can basically adjust to pretty much any value, which is what I love about the Far Driver. It's pretty much like unlocked. So at the top there, it shows you your model number for the Far Driver, and it actually, from the auto learning process, it detected what kind of motor you have, and also some battery settings as well. But just really quickly over here in parameters, you want to make sure that your pole pairs is set to the correct value. This motor in particular has 16 pole pairs, so you want to make sure that that saves. Now, what I like to do is anytime I do make a change, I like to hit save, and just to verify that it made the change. And over here, if you scroll down, you'll see you even have your settings over here with max line current, max phase current. You can actually set your line current to lower than what the max is capable of for your controller. And you even have, you know, things like you can adjust the voltage for your throttle, or you can adjust the field weakening, which over here, if you click on weak response, you can adjust field weakening. It has about 7 levels. And you can also adjust the throttle response. So if we have here throttle response, you can actually put it into 3 modes. It's either sport, eco, or line. Line is basically like normal. I usually keep it on line. I don't like to mess with sport too much because I've had sort of like some weird experiences in the past where it would actually trigger the controller to kind of shut off. Well, actually more so the battery, just because of the boost of voltage. But yeah, so I usually keep mine online for throttle response. As we scroll down here, we have our ratios. Usually in most cases you can keep your ratios all to 100%, based on, you know, your liking. So once you change the values, as you can see there, it actually adjusts the percentages. So yeah, really awesome like capabilities in terms of controller settings. And you know, I've had a lot of fun sort of dibbling and dabbling with certain settings here and there. Alright, and then you can actually, when you get to this section over here, energy regenerate, you can adjust the basically the regen. If you have your brake sensors, which is one thing I forgot to mention, is my particular brakes came with a brake sensor which you can basically connect to the light kit. You'll see it's like that SM plug, and once you connect both of those to the corresponding left and right brake, it'll allow you to have regen for the motors. You know, certain motors have like limits to the amount of regen they can produce. So for me, I kind of like have mine on very low setting with 10 amp back current and 5 amp back current for the max and the low. So yeah, anyways, I will put the screenshots in a link for you guys, just so you guys can kind of see what I have in terms of my settings and, you know, sort of my values. So yeah, but yeah, so that's just sort of like a general breakdown of the app. And like I said, always make sure to save any type of values that you change. And if you want to return back to the main screen, all you would have to do is hit return simple mode right over here, and it'll bring you back to the main page. And what's awesome too, last but not least, you can actually, this graph here, you can actually see the amount of RPMs and sort of voltage that your bike is producing, as well as the amps and the throttle sort of voltage. It's a really intuitive sort of like graph here, which I do wish that they did have like miles per hour, but you know, I think it's, you know, it's fine for what it's used for, really, to like even monitor like your motor temperature and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, that's the sort of general breakdown of the far driver tuning. But yeah, let's go ahead and take this bike out for a spin and see how the bike handles. So the 72-volt Macfox is finally done for the most part. I actually don't have a horn on this. The one that I actually had broke. I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments. This thing, I decided to go with like the sport bike headlight, you know, and as you guys know, I have the dual sport tires. This is from Ultraverse. You can actually get these on Amazon, but yeah, man, I think this came out great. I actually have the lights on right now. You can't really see it, but yeah, the lights are on. We have a 25 amp hour Samsung pack from Amorg battery in here, but as you guys can see here, we have sort of the exposed controller. I actually plan on getting some panels, maybe some like cross panels here that like kind of like go diagonal this way. I just kind of want to hide all this wiring here. I did my best to try and like hide it by putting some stuff in the bag, but yeah, I might get some like couple panels, one on each side, and just to kind of like cover this section up a little bit. But as you guys know, we're running the 3000 watt MB Power hub motor. Because this is a budget build, I'm not using a display. I have my voltmeter here connected to the throttle, as well as the key ignition, which acts as extra security. And also over here, we have our miles per hour going, a little GPS. And then also, if you guys are curious about temps or anything like that, or any kind of stats, you can always flip on the far driver app. Alright guys, so that's a quick little overview. I'll go more in depth in another video, but this is sort of like a first impressions type of overview. Alright, let's go. Hit about 53 miles an hour. Not too bad, not too bad. This battery is able to run about 150 amps continuously, and I believe it peaks at about 250 amps. So nothing too crazy, but I mean it's pretty quick. As you can see here, this thing kind of takes off. Oh shit. Like off of a roll, that thing is so fast, my gosh. And just a reminder too that this is actually a hardtail bike. You know, it's not a doesn't have rear suspension, but it does have a decent front fork. So pretty solid, pretty solid. And the frame is steel. Oh man, but it is so nimble. These bars are actually kind of short. Oh, shit. see, the brakes are pretty solid too. Oh my gosh. Man, you could really feel the torque from that motor. Holy cow. So this controller, the Far Driver 72340, is actually a lot cheaper than the Saviton. Woo. And it pulls even a bit more amps than like the 150. But yeah, this bike is small, man. It's a little bit smaller than the X-Class in terms of like length, if you guys are looking for like a frame of reference. And it's a little higher than a Super 73. Super 73s, they sit kind of low. Alright, we hit 56 over there. Pretty nice. A little bit of a longer stretch of road. The turning radius for this bike is so funny. It's like I'm able to like turn it the whole way. That's what I love about modding bikes and swapping them out for high-powered components, is the stuff like that, like the turning radius for your your wheel is just like insane. Let's see how it does off-road. I haven't even done to try it. Whoa! Oh yeah! Oh no! Bro, it's a dead bird. Oh my god. Oh gosh. Sorry guys, might have to censor that. It's a dead bird. Got hit by a fly. And for those of you who are curious, this motor is with the 3T winding. I had to use this previously on my X-Class motor, and was getting some pretty good numbers, you know, especially with the Molly cell pack. So overall, this motor has been pretty good in terms of torque and power overall. The mini bike is okay. It's okay for taking to the city. It's definitely not the best commuter vehicle, and let's just say this, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend this over the mini bike in terms of going into like an urban environment where you're constantly like hitting potholes and bumps and stuff. Because that mini bike, the Roadrunner that I have, is not ideal because of the wheel size. Especially when you hit like a ditch, you know? And there's like construction constantly going on in the city. So if you, you know, if you're looking for something like more comfortable to ride or something like that, you know, definitely get something like a Macfox, man. And, you know, throw a high-powered motor and controller on there. I want to do the slalom test. Let's go like this. 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 But yeah, I would not recommend the mini bike, especially for New York City commuting. I think something like this would work. The Bomber, I mean, what can you say about the Bomber? That thing is amazing. It's an amazing bike, especially with the new controller. But the thing is, when transporting it in the city and like kind of lugging it around, dude, it's like almost 200 pounds, that bike. It's not a light bike at all. So, you know, something like this is I think seems more practical. It's actually fairly light. I don't think this thing is over 120 pounds. I think it's about 120 or maybe like 110 or something like that. It's very manageable in terms of weight, you know? And you have that sort of like weight to power ratio where, like, look at this thing. Like, my gosh, this thing is crazy. Alright guys, thank y'all for making it to the end of this video. I know this one was a bit of a doozy, but just wanted to have some closing statements. If you guys are interested in sort of my total cost for this build, for the Macfox build, it cost me just under $3,000. I believe it was about $2,900. So yeah, I mean, if you guys are looking to build something high powered that's able to go as fast as an Onyx and as faster than a Surron, this is it. And just want to give a big shout out to all you guys that support the channel. And yeah, feel free to like and subscribe and catch some more content in the future. I'll definitely be making another video on this to kind of give my feedback on the build itself and kind of do more of a full overview of the bike. But until then, guys, hope you all have a wonderful, splendid day, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.